Okay. So give me just a second. Can y'all see my screen okay?
Yep.
Excellent. Why is that? All right, everybody. It's pretty like status quo. Somebody's calling me this week. Let me make that smaller so I can see. Okay. So what we've got is just staying steady almost across the board. We're just seeing, the main thing we're seeing is a little dip in interest rates, which is really nice. I don't know if that's just a glitch from this morning, because sometimes it can happen. Hey guys, I'm on a class. Sorry, that's my fault. Okay, so we have 1,643 total active listings. Going back up here, we were at 1904. And right now, the average overall is 1776. So we're still well below average, over 100 below average in total active listings. This is going to continue to do this, I think, until September. Most people want to get through the summer. Like once we get past the spring market, people get through the summer, they'll want to start listing that have to. So we've got 250 new listings, almost exactly what we had last week. But we didn't gobble up everything. So remember how we saw this exceeding it. We're just barely scooping up the ones that are out there and just seeing a little bit of a change. Where is it? Price reductions. We're seeing a huge increase here. So if you try to follow the bouncing ball, what we're seeing, remember we talked about that at the beginning of the summer, is we're not going to see many price reductions until towards mid to late summer. And now we're seeing that jump here. Total closings, 212. That's going to continue to eke down because we saw fewer properties get listed in June and July. So as we go into August, this should probably dip a little bit too. Be surprised if it doesn't. Average days on market, just a couple more days added there, similar to what we saw a couple of weeks ago. This should start inching up as well. 304 was the average. There was about $5 million homes that sold last week. So that's why we're still in the threes. I don't know about you guys, but that's another talking point, is when we're in this economy or whatever, I just think it's interesting that we're seeing, and this is not a political statement at all. I'm just saying, like, when we have difficulty in the economy, you know, the rich get richer. Does that make sense? Those that have it tend to keep it and invest and do whatever. So I do find it interesting. I wonder what was it's 304 here. So we're right back almost exactly at 304 where we were in August. I don't know. The average is 287 still. Just something to think about. Okay. Number of price reductions. Like I said, that's popping up to 246. This should continue to go up, just a smidge down below where we were, about a point, 1% of the sales price to list price ratio. Again, a reminder, this is just Allegheny County. So if you're wanting to look at the tabular results of a specific area and you don't know how to do that, we can add that on here. Just raise your hand here in a second and I'll quickly show you how to look these up in a specific area. So if anybody has a price reduction they need to consider, or they're pricing a new listing, let me know and we can look at that really quickly. Number of expireds, just hovering here still in the mid 50s. Nice little jump there in number of agents. It's actually number of subscribers. Should clarify that, as I have before, that we're seeing more brokers, more appraisers and home inspectors in there. And again, just a dip here in what Holland Mortgage is showing as interest rates. Does anybody have any questions about what we're seeing this week?
I do.
Yes, sir.
So obviously we're seeing, an increase in seller concessions, so to speak, if you look at price reductions and so forth.
Yeah.
But I'm still finding that sellers are still aware that the inventory is very low. And so they're getting offers that and in a previous market might have been more acceptable, but they're not wanting to take it because they say, well, the inventory is low, so I'm going to get better offers. Do you have any like suggestions with the data showing us there that we can use to talk to sellers about?
I absolutely do. And this is kind of where I was talking about pricing. So I just noticed like a huge team member of Dustin Knowles just started his own brokerage. So okay, so if we go here, like what area, for example, Blake, what part of the MLS?
Let's say Canonsburg.
Single family?
Yes.
All right, 3-bedroom?
Sure. Yeah, I think it's a 3-2.
Okay, so what we've got here is sold in the last 180 days, single family, Canonsburg, 3-bedroom. So what I'm trying to do is get as narrow as I can. I probably won't put like baths in there because that can be a little weird. So you've got 16 matches. See this down here at the bottom? If you had maybe 2 matches, I would go up here and make this longer to 365 days. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So we're going to see the results here. Then what we're going to do, let me get this out of the way, is we're going to go to stats down at the bottom. Click on tabular. This is where I get that sales price to list price ratio. So if you are currently a 3-bedroom priced at $250 and your conditions look like some of these others that are selling in the 220s, you 100%, when you're dealing with sellers, need to kill them with data. Like you need to inundate them with data on a regular basis, especially if you agreed to a price point when you listed that you probably felt like wasn't the best idea. You want to set the stage in advance before listing that, hey, you know, I do think this is on the high side, but I will list this. Let's see what the market is telling us. You don't say, this is what I think you should do. You should say, this is what the market is telling us. This is what the market is telling us. So if you're here and say you're priced at $250 and you're seeing here that the average 3-bedroom, 2-bath in Canonsburg is listing at $223 and selling at $219. What are we seeing here? We're seeing about a 3% sales price to list price ratio. So what I would do is I would go to that seller and I would say, here is the data. The price that we're at doesn't support, and I would consider a 3% reduction. That would get us in the sweet spot of where we're seeing properties sell. And this is what the data for our specific area is showing us. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you.
My pleasure. So this is also the best way, in my opinion, to look at, you know, your prices. So for example, if you're just now listing and you see it here and you're kind of like at 223 or 225, let's say, for example, your seller wants to sell quickly, right? We're showing them that average days on market is like 29 and the max is like 85. Okay, Mr. Seller, you told me you need to be out of here in 30 days. So what I'm going to suggest, even though I do think the house is worth $225, that's in the sweet spot. If we reduce it by 3%, we have the chance of getting multiple offers because we're going to be priced at or below what the market is telling us. Do you feel me on that?
Right.
That is asking for like or it's telling us that that's a general idea of where the market is for that particular house. Now, if it's got a brand new, say, for example, that house has been in the same ownership for like 40 years. They've got a little enclosed porch, 4-season porch, and a brand new kitchen. Would I go down? No, I'd be like, no, we're looking good right here or whatever. So aesthetics, condition, all that is definitely a factor, but I use that results page like this and the stats all the time. I use that to support where we're at. And honestly, if you have a seller that's just unwilling to reduce, all you can do is provide information on a weekly basis. Every Monday morning, I would send them, I would go to this tabular, I would screenshot this, and I would copy and paste it, screenshot it, put it in an email and say, just want to give you an update how things went this weekend. Like you would give a regular update to your seller anyway, and just say currently homes in the condition of of what we're seeing at 123 Main Street are selling anywhere between here and here and are usually seeing about a 3% price reduction.
Awesome.
I would just give them that data every week.
Jennifer, to play off of that, something that I did that that we learned in Bold is I've been going over the comps with the seller directly. Like I've been forwarding the actual listings,
yes.
And so they can actually see like, okay, here's the numbers, but here's the house, and then they can make the comparables themselves where it's like, oh, their kitchen might be a little bit better than mine, you know, maybe their backyard, and they start to make those assumptions themselves. And it was really a powerful tool.
It's extremely powerful, especially so, and I say this all the time, the Pareto principle, right? The 80-20 rule. 80% of what you do to sell a house is done before you even make it active in MLS, in my opinion. So it's talking about the pricing and educating your seller from the beginning. We have sellers right now that still think that they can have, you know, poop on a Triscuit and sell it for, you know, 20% over market value. That's just not how it's going. You have to explain and educate your sellers that buyers are looking online. They know what's listed. They know the areas that they want. They know the prices. They know the conditions. Like they're stalking Zillow every day the minute they get an alert. So sellers need to be educated, and that's our jobs. So what Ken said, 100% prior to listing, I would set a seller up for the comps that are already in the MLS, set up a search or whatever, and let them get that every morning after you list. So every morning, any new changes in that area, they're seeing them as they come on. They're going to see price reductions. They're going to see open houses. They're going to see contingencies, right? So you are continuing to educate your client as the property stays listed, especially when you've got that crotchety old whoever that thinks that they're going to sell for top dollar when their house looks like poop.
Yeah, it's a good tactic. Thank you.
My pleasure. Anything else?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So you said there might be like a little uptick of listings in September. School starting doesn't play a role in that?
It can. But what happens is that, you know, people have graduations and then they have summers with plans or whatever, but people need to move when people need to move. Now, usually they want to list and be out or whatever by the time school starts, but you just never know. Historically speaking, we do see usually a little uptick in September. And we did last year, which was very odd. Like we had such a slim pickings through the summer, and then we saw this uptick through September and October, but it's fast. It's like a come in list, and then it starts to slow down as the holidays come. So we'll watch the data, let the data speak for itself. But from what we're seeing, like obviously the last couple of years have been just bonkers. So I'm super excited to be watching once we hit August 1st and continue this call and start seeing, like really starting to see how it compares to last year. Cause we're there, like we're starting to see year over year. We could still do that. Like I could go back, but I ain't doing that. I could go back even further, put weird dates in and try to get more data, but I don't know. All right. Thanks everybody. Appreciate seeing y'all. And have a wonderful week.
Thank you so much.
Pleasure.